Hey, it's the preacher, and I'm in the kitchen, and look what I drug out of the garden. A sunburst, we call them patty pan squash, a yellow zucchini. I've already chopped up a couple of these patty pan squash and got them diced up. And today we're going to cook these a little different. Now I know the angels of heaven eat these squash sliced thinly, rolled in cornmeal, and deep fried the way they would down here in the South. But what I want to do today is something a little bit different. I've grabbed a zucchini. This is a zucchini. It's just a yellow one, the squash. I've also picked up about 5 of these onions that are not quite golf ball size. These were out of our spring onions or green onion patch. And what I'm going to do is cut these up in chunks. So you take your patty pan squash and you knock the stem off. And I cut that little end off. I don't think anybody wants to eat that. Then I cut it in half. So you have 2 halves, just like this. Then I lay it down and I cut that in half longwise. So you have 2 pieces, just like this. They go back together. Then stand them up on that flat edge you've created, side by side, and just dice them. And then what you'll end up with are some bigger chunks, some smaller chunks. And so we're just going to take those and drop them in this sack. This is a 1-gallon Ziploc baggie. And I'll do the same thing to this one here. Cut it in half, straight down. And then you don't have to be precise. Don't get a tape measure out. That's not necessary. You want some to be a little bigger, some to be a little smaller. We're going to cook these under the broiler. And some of them will brown up and some of them will just soften up. So here's my yellow zucchini, split longwise, so that you have it just in half, just like this. Then we're just going to cut this, and I'm going to say these are half inch, half moons. And I'm not too particular. I mean, you do want roughly the same size, but you don't have to get real analytical and picky about it. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. So, there we go. We're going to put all those in there. I'm going to take these onions and I'm going to cut them longwise. So this will allow them to kind of fall apart or stay together, whatever they choose to do. I've just cut the green end off, the root end off, and peeled the outer layer. Gave them a good bath. So we're cutting those in half. I'll tell you what, this big one, I'm going to quarter it. That probably is a golf ball size. So everything's cut up and in the bag. Well, now everything is cut up and in the bag. Let me set this over here out of the way. So here's what we have. Now if you had green zucchini, this would really be great color. And you can put virtually any vegetable you want in here. I'm just putting what I got out of the garden. So this is our own squash, our own zucchini, and our own onions. To that we're going to add some seasoning. This is Goya adobo seasoning. Has some oregano in it, but just a good all-purpose seasoning. And I put it on a little bit of everything. So I'll put some of that in there. Cracked black pepper. Quite a bit. I got quite a bit of vegetables in here. Possum salt. If you haven't seen that, you can find a video on my channel where I make my own seasoned salt using, there again, vegetables out of our own garden. So we're going to sprinkle, this is really all the salt we're putting in it, so I better put quite a bit. Now, I like to kick it up just a little bit. This is my own cayenne pepper that I've dried, and I don't need a whole lot. My wife's eating it with me. Secret ingredient. I got this at Schaefer Farms. If you saw a video of me eating at Schaefer's barbecue, meat market and barbecue in where is it, Summerville? Summertown, Tennessee. This stuff here is absolutely amazing. It's called gunpowder seasoning. If you look at it here, I'll bring it around and let you look at it. Schaefer Farms gunpowder. Now I bought a bunch of this because it's really good. I don't even know if they have a website, but there you go. Huh? And I know what you're thinking. Hey preacher, What's gunpowder taste like? Well, it doesn't taste like gunpowder. It actually gives everything a grilled taste. So you can pan fry this or bake this. You can pan fry this or bake this or cook it under the broiler, and it will taste like it's been grilled. I've had all kinds of speculation as to what's in here. Somebody said that tried it, they were like, I bet they scraped out their smoker every once a year and ground it up and put it in here. I don't know. It doesn't taste smoky, but it does give you a grilled taste. Now, I'm going to shake these around. We're not done. I'm just moving things around. Now, the reason I move things around is because I didn't measure any of this seasoning. I just added and added and added. And what I try to do is, now that I've got it all in there, I just squeeze some of the air out and I'll look at it. Does that look well seasoned? Does everything look like it's got plenty on it? This is what you want to do. You want to just look. Yeah. Everything looks like it's got seasoning on it, but there's something I forgot. Right over here in the window, this is some green parsley. I'm going to throw that in there. We've been growing that in the window, and I'm going to dice up maybe a tablespoon fresh parsley, 2 teaspoons, I don't know. Let's throw this in there with it. That'll just give it some color. And now everything that we've got in there, except the adobo and the gunpowder and the black pepper, came out of the garden. Now, last ingredient. You can use olive oil, probably even be better. Avocado is what I typically use. So I'm going to pour quite a bit. I say quite a bit, 4 or 5 tablespoons, because I want everything in there thoroughly coated and I don't want it to stick. Now's the time where we just do this a whole bunch. I mean, you're not beating it on the table. You don't want to bruise everything, but you want all that oil to go to the bottom, and then you want to flip it up and have it all run back down through there. Now, I have a leak, but it is a good leak. Man, that's good. I'm leaking right there on that side. I'm going to give that about 5 minutes to come up to temp. I have a baking sheet lined with foil. While that comes up to temp, I'm going to clean the counter off. I'm going to let this marinate. I'll move it around a little bit. We'll be back in about 5 minutes and we'll slide it in the broiler. Okay, I've cleaned off my mess and I have the broiler now set on high and I'm letting it come up to temperature. With that being said, we've allowed this to set for about 5 minutes. And if you'll notice, I don't know how well you can see it, but the salt is pulling a lot of moisture out of these squash and zucchini and onions. And so if we were just to dump this on there before they could actually get good color to them, you would have to get all of that moisture to evaporate off. So you could strain this, I guess, if you wanted to, but you've already got it in a Ziploc baggie. And I'm not the weirdo guy that's going to go around washing my baggies out and reusing them, especially one that's already leaking. So I'll get a pair of scissors, I'll go to the sink. There's some oil in this, I know, but it's not enough to hurt anything. I'm going to cut that and let all the moisture drain out in the sink. You could do it in the trash. I'll let all that drain out. And then once it's drained through my little bitty hole cut in there, I'll dump it out on the full line sheet pan. Just a little cut, not big enough to let your squash out, but big enough to let the juice out. Now that we've drained most of that juice off, let's spread them out on the sheet. You don't have to get real carried away, but you do want them all level. You want them as close to a single layer as possible. Okay, I'm going to wash my hands. I think this oven is getting hot enough to work. Let me wash my hands and we'll put it in the oven. I'll show you what it looks like. Alright guys, there's what you end up with. Doesn't that look good? You can see you got some onions in here. Some of them have started coming apart. Some of them are whole. So there, right up under the broiler. Not right underneath it, but close enough. I put that in there for 2 minutes and I checked it. And then I set the timer for a minute and I checked it every minute. And every time I would check it, I would turn it around, move it around with a spatula. It's been in there a total of 6 minutes. And once it started browning, I check it every 30 seconds. And so I think it's just about ready. And I just stand here. This is not something you set it and forget it and walk away. How about that? You want to come around and take a look at it? One little onion peel right there and one right there, all by themselves burnt. The rest of it looks great. There's what we're talking about. You can see a little caramelization on top of it. Some pieces more than others. The onions, some of them are caramelized, some of them are just softened. That's what you want. I did this all backwards. I'm right-handed, not left-handed. Now, let's put it on a plate. And I mean, nothing is stuck. Everything is just sliding off. Let me have a little sip of Crystal Geyser Natural Alpine Spring Water. It's bottled at the source, folks. That cleansed my palate. Alright. So, this looks and smells really good. Let's see. I'll just get a chunk of the patty pan right there and let's see what it's like. Oh my goodness. There's a half moon of the yellow zucchini. Let me spear an onion here. Take an onion and a piece of patty pan together. I'm telling you, it's got the right amount of caramelization. It's soft, but it's not mush. Everything still kept its shape. No one spice is overpowering the other. It does have a grilled taste because I use the gunpowder. And just grabbing a few of those spring onions or green onions that were golf ball size, that was just right to sprinkle around in there. That's why I plant a garden. You can't get that in the store. You can get close to that, but you can't get that. I mean, that was on a vine an hour ago. One thing I did do that I didn't show you on camera, and I meant to tell you about it, while these were cooking in the oven, I took 2 tablespoons of butter, cut it up in pads, and dropped that around on the pan and let that butter just melt and be on the bottom. So it gives it a kind of a buttery taste. There you have it. Squash, zucchini, and onions under the broiler, right out of the garden. It just doesn't get any better than that. I encourage you, if you have a garden, usually the first things that you can eat are these. Give this a try. Tell me what you think. If you do something similar to this, leave it in the comments below. If you think all you should ever eat is fried squash, then go mind your own business. You don't know any better. I like fried squash, but this right here is a nice change up. I'll see you in the next video.